I think following my painting here in this demonstration will show you just how rapid and versatile this technique can be. All I needed with this artwork was just one simple oval mop. I like the ProArt half-inch oval mops or large oval mops.
Смотреть
как все? Это у вас там еще?
Ну, не знаю, у нас здесь тоже восьмичные, только если в аквариуме.
Пусть за раковиной ныряет.
За раковиной? Ну, у кого где? У нас только раки в магазине. Вот и у нас есть.
У вас после стройки по-моему, сбросил, надо
Я пойду сюда, пойдешь со мной? В море пойду, пойдешь? Нет? Поиграешь? Ладно, можно размазать.
Фотографируемся, главное. Там такая же глубина, что ты плывешь сначала на двора.
Anyway, there we are, a nice lively loose piece that captures the mood, atmosphere and light at the moment, and one of my favourite pictures of the trip.
I am Adel from Egypt. Okay, I live in Alexandria, and this is my shop. But I study in Faculty of Archaeology. Okay, I am an archaeology inspector, and I like to meet you here in Egypt, okay, Mr. Peter. And Mr. Peter now learn me teach me some drawing, how I can draw something like that, okay, how I can use the horizontal line or something like that, how I can make the figure. And I have seen his website is very nice for picture and very nice painting and draw, and I learned more things from it. And also I hope I will be artist or big artist like him. Now I want to show something. We have here the papyrus plant with some picture and some drawing on the papyrus material. And papyrus plant was a very sacred plant in ancient Egyptian because the cartouche bring it for you, royal cartouche. Again, I want to explain something for you. It's very interesting. It's a silver stuff, my silver stuff. For example, I have something like that. His name and symbol of key of life. This is the key of life. Ancient Egyptians is thinking this key of paradise because this is represent the River Nile design. If you have seen the map of Egypt, you can find the River Nile like that. This is map of Egypt. This is Mediterranean Sea and the Red Sea and this River Nile. This delta of Nile like that, and the valley of Nile like that, and two desert, Eastern Desert and Western Desert like that. Also looks like the family, man and woman, and two lotus flower, symbol of love and happiness in ancient Egyptian. Always ancient Egyptian thinking that figure bring eternity and bring luck because this is represent River Nile, and the Nile brings the water for Egypt, so it brings the life for Egypt. Another thing very interesting also is the royal cartouche. What is the meaning cartouche? Cartouche is the most famous personal gift from Egypt because ancient Egyptian bought the name of king and the queen in this figure because they think this bring eternity and bring happiness forever. And they was put the name here, okay, and they was changed the name. The king put the name of the queen and the queen put the name of the king. And this is the oldest calendar in all over the world from 7,000 years ago. Ancient Egyptians they put this also in the papyrus plant. And what does that mean this? This is the calendar. Here 52 figure, it looks like 52 weeks in the year, and 24 hand by hand like 24 hour in the day, and 4 angel, it's like 4 direction, north, south, east, west, and here the sign zodiac, and all these people 12 people like 12 months in the year.
Clearly the locals thought there was a need for security here, as when our coach got to this point, they took over and led us with an armed guard. This trip certainly gave me the chance to see the expanse and vastness of the Egyptian desert, with these wonderful huge mountains and sand and valleys and gorges going up in between, just miles and miles of road going on and on. Yusri noticed these boys that had just caught this octopus, stopped the bus and tried to barter with them, but they were too smart for him and wanted more than he would pay. I filmed the film. You will notice I use some of these compositions of the camels in my painting of the Great Pyramids. At the end of the day, Yusri took us to a rather nice restaurant on the seaside, where we were able to choose from a large menu of seafood, and all the cost was included within the price. Thank you, Messi. Okay, guys. Hello. 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 We take a photo. Here we came just to snorkel at Mangrove Bay. You can see the mangroves in the swamp here. There were several hundred yards of shallow water to get across, but after that in the deep blue line, it's incredible how steep and sharp the drop-off was, straight down into just deep blue water. And it was here that I had one of my most wonderful experiences of swimming amongst several very large turtles. I don't think I'm going to need masking fluid for this, although I might use a little bit just on the masts here, and I could use some on the foam at the edge of the water here, although I can do that by texture really. So I'll probably just put a bit of masking fluid on some of these small areas here and just along these edges, because as I was saying, we want to mask just some of this, and this is an ideal opportunity to use this SAA fine liner. We should be able to draw a straight line down. Using a pencil. There we go. So a very useful tool for fine lines like this. Although I have found that this masking fluid is a problem in the hot weather in Egypt, as we found out earlier on, it just melted into the paper, so you have to be very careful about that one. But back in colder climes like this, we're fine. And these little pink boys on the side of the boat here, I think we'll put in, so we can bring them out later. Down here on the surf, we just need to put in some of these mussels. And we'll have to let that dry off completely, otherwise it'll make a right mess. And it's nice and cool in this room, so we won't have the problem that we had in Egypt with this masking fluid. See some masking fluid has got on here that we don't want, just rub it away. Okay, we're set up ready to paint and to film. You can see I've got my paper not stretched because it's a 300-pound rough, but just taped down, my photograph ready, my watercolours, and hopefully all I'm going to need are 4 brushes. I've got a rigger, a tiny flat this time, a tiny square-ended one for the boat, my main mop and a round, and then I've got my selection of brushes there if I do need more. Right, well, we'll start with our oval mop. I want to do some nice washes across here. What I am going to do is do a light blue wash right the way through here, leaving this little part here to paint in afterwards. I'm going to use a graduated wash down of cerulean blue with some cobalt blue up here. Take some cerulean then, just work my way down here and drag that through. I'm going to take some cobalt then and put some more cobalt blue into it up here. A little bit of rose. I'm going to bring a bit of rose down the bottom here. Right down through there. Letting it blend down. I'm going to drop more colour into this in a minute. Letting it blend down all the way down to the horizon line here. Right through the boat there. All the way through. Now while it's still wet, I want to go a bit stronger in there to start getting some beautiful deeper blue. So I'm going to drop some ultramarine now in up here. Just bring that down and through again. Nice even strokes backwards and forwards to let this blend down of the cobalt blue just to start forming some clouds through here. So I'm going to bring it a little bit stronger into there. And the same up here, much stronger up here. And to just bring that down in downward strokes so that it blends in. Down through there like that. And across here the same. While it's still wet. And I want some of that turquoise coming in here. Right through, down into there. To get that sort of effect. So that cloud comes through there. All the way through the boat. Up to there. A bit more turquoise down here. Let that pink just glow through. And come back up here again with a little bit more of that pink. Now I think we've about got that sky now that we wanted. I want to carry on down here. I'm going to carry on down with my with my cobalt. I'll be able to go across this later with a deeper glaze to get the effect I want. I just want to get the lighter colour of the water at the minute. Bring the warms into the cools. And the cobalt comes down through here. Back to the turquoise again. Letting it blend down through. Don't need any dry brushwork yet. I'm going to get rid of this white paper at the minute, even though it is a rough paper. We'll use that later. I'm going to paint it very thinly at first now. So I'm going to use just plain water to thin this right down and through, because we're going to be painting more detail of the ripples over the top later. It becomes more orange, so we come into cadmium orange. Right in and through the water here. Because we're going to make the darker colour on top using a sponge, make a darker colour of all of the gravel there by using a sponge when it's dry. This colour just wants to glow through there. A little bit of warmth, we'll just take a little bit of raw sienna and just drop a little bit of that golden warmth along there on the top edge. Just got to watch how wet the paint is, because we want hard edges, sharp edges now for this boat. Continue building up these washes of the various blues. I'm going to go back to my cerulean now. Bring that cerulean across here again. As carefully as we can in a straight level line along this edge. Again a bit stronger still. We should start to do a little bit of dry brushwork now, just dragging it over the surface here to get the feeling of waves. Give us these lovely effects of the blues, turquoises and so on. Talking of turquoise, I need to stop dropping in a bit of that turquoise here now, so I'll take a bit more turquoise, I'm going to drop that in here. And now I need to start thinking about the deeper blues. Before I do that, I'm just going to drop in little strokes of the turquoise coming through here. So we're gradually building up these different blues and greens until we start working right down through here. Keep working this up. These subtle waves of colour leaving the ripples behind. Now we could do some of this having used masking fluid. We could use masking to leave some of these lighter colours behind, but I'm going to just try and do it the old traditional way now of just working these colours one over the other, wet over dry and wet next to wet to get this effect. And then back up to here again. We want to start putting some cobalt blue in here now, a stronger blue, right through here. Right from the top edge all the way along. We're just going to streak it a bit in places. Be careful just so we put the warms in where these warmer blues are. And again, as we did with the turquoise just now, we start to drop in little bits of the deeper blue as it comes down to make the ripples and play against the cooler blues, the turquoises that we did earlier. Now by playing one colour against another, and the delicate use of watercolour, wet on dry and wet next to wet, you start to get the effect of these ripples. We're going to go right through these blues all the way through to the greens on this. Just letting the red drop down from the top of the ripple now here. A nice glow, and we'll show the difference between the wet and the dry shingle. And we're going to need to be a bit sharper with those as we work this up, so we'll let that dry off a bit again. Now while I'm waiting on the rest of it drying, we'll just work a little bit on the boat. I'm going to pick up my round brush now and we'll just start to work up some of these lovely golds and browns here. I'm going to start with some Indian red and just see if that's a nice colour. Yes it is, just right for that. All the way along here and right up into my bowsprit there. I'll make that darker in a moment. Right, whilst that's drying off, we'll take some ultramarine to really start getting these blues. I need it to dry off a bit then because I have to work on this a little bit sharper and we don't want it blending into the sea too much now. I'm going to take my little tiny square brush and we're going to start adding some windows into this using some indigo with a little bit of burnt sienna just to make it darker. And we'll just start off here, and all we want is little marks here to indicate the windows. Some dark here and there that are going to be shadows later on this. And we can use that same brush to put in some of these darks just underneath the boat here. And I'm going to go back to my pointy brush, Prussian blue, and just darken down into here with the Prussian blue and the details underneath here. That's it. That's our yacht until we remove the masking fluid, which will make a big difference because all the little bits of white will show there that we want to have there. Okay, we'll let that dry off a bit now. While that's drying, we'll just take some of the ultramarine and quite carefully with a fine brush we'll just try and bring this line down here to the bowsprit in one stroke. So put these in just below the light bits. Okay, now we can rub away the masking fluid. You see the nice white pieces we have coming up now. Yeah. We'll do that later down at the bottom as well with the surf. So now I just have to finish off working on the boat. I think my next colour needs to be going into the reds. Take a little bit of that and this red dinghy here, which will help to bring out the boat. And we need to bring a bit of red over the boat as well anyway. So we'll just go around these with a bit of red, leaving a tiny bit of white there. And the whole boat probably needs a bit of red as well. So on the sea I'm now going to come back, try a little bit of the cobalt blue first of all again, just to darken a bit. And I'm going to drop in ultramarine up here now, go a bit darker with the ultramarine. Beautiful deep blue going along here. Ultramarine blue all the way along this top edge, really deep. And we'll just bring that back in little strokes through here, giving the effect of the waves allowing through some of this turquoise. Lines of waves just marching in, if you like, just coming along here. Sort of broken lines of waves through here now. A bit more of a wash. You see how we can gradually make these wave effects happen. We've got to build and build up these blues until we get stronger and stronger and darker and darker. If you get any that are just too much, then lift them out a bit to break them up. I brush a little more sideways now on this bit to get these slightly larger effects of ripples of light. More show going on in here than ripples on the surface. Just keep building it up and building it up. Using sap green now to add across the blue to get this greener tint as the water comes clear and shallow here. And as that gets closer in, we get some darker greens amongst it, so we add some of the ultramarine to the green. And it's just starting to take effect now, isn't it? You can see how I'm using the techniques of the washes and then the glazes and then wet into wet and wet next to wet to try and get these effects. Okay, we've got the greens in now. I want to start working up the darker colours, so I'm going to take some more of the Prussian and we'll just start to darken in some of these waves and darker areas in the background here. I come through that bit there, but we lost earlier, became a bit too overworked. And little dark marks that we can bring in, right back here as well. I will let that dry again. To work on the foreground area here of the sand, and I'm going to use a sponge for that. And we'll start with a mixture of colours. We're going to start with some red. So I'll mix it up with a brush first. What we don't want to make is a pattern, so we mustn't repeat this too much. Twist the sponge slightly as you go along, so we get a slightly different texturing as it happens. So we can play the rough against the smooth. We can play this texturing against the waves in a moment. And we could go on working on it, but I think we're about there now for what I want to do with this picture, just to show you. Then we'll remove this masking fluid in a moment, and you can just see how it's going to work. I'm just going to take a little bit of green, because we've got so much green in the sea. I want to have just a little bit of green here in the foreground amongst the shingle here, just to help lead the eye in. Right, now it's time to remove the masking fluid off that. I'll take my handkerchief again and we'll just rub away all these areas here. We want white foam at the edge of the water. Really clean. So some nice clean chrome yellow into here. Really bright. And I'm going to take some red and just drop that in around the edge of the chrome to spread out and make a really bright orange. Just leaving it in the middle. Then a bit of cool, a bit of the rose, just to go around the edge of it here, down here, and then some purple to make the shadow under here. The purple against the yellow, bring a nice shadow out. It's a little bit more textured just there, and a wee bit of blue just underneath that as well in a moment. Just a little bit of ultramarine, just to give a cooler, slightly cooler, darker shadow, to give this feeling of translucency. It would have been difficult to have done this on the spot. Actually painting on plein air to do this one, I would probably behaved a little differently, but not much. And I think you get the idea now of how something can be produced like this. I think there's only a need to use two brushes. I'll use my oval mop and a number 8 round brush on this, and start with the larger oval mop and then narrow down at the end to smaller details with the round. If I work quickly enough, that means I can blend in some other colours before they dry off without getting a hard edge, which I don't want. Nice warm yellows, chrome yellows, lovely warm yellow, rich, darker yellow. We're using a £300 knot paper here, so I haven't had to stretch it, it's only been taped down. I'm going to use a little bit of cadmium orange to come into this, and then work some of the rose in. Wash on that one area there that I stupidly missed out. And now for the background. I've done the fish, so I'm going to work very, very loosely, wetting to wet, leaving the masking fluid on at the moment so that the white areas of polyps on the rocks will show out once I rub the fluid away later. I'm going to wet the whole paper and then drop the colour into the wet, but I'm not going to wet where the fish is, obviously. Now, the texture to it. Just about finished the bit of watercolouring, but I thought I'd use a bit of texturing around the base here and up here, and what better than a bit of sea sponge for doing that? Sea sponge for sea work. So I've got a nice bit of sea sponge. You can see the texturing all around here, which with a little bit of watercolour dabbed onto it. Don't overdo this and be careful about making the pattern too continuous. But just dabbing a bit of texture around the bottom to lead the eye in. So we've played warm against cool, and now we're playing rough against smooth. We've played light against dark. Don't need more than that, that'll do it. Well, there we are. I do hope you've enjoyed sharing this trip with me. I certainly enjoyed it. It's one of those milestones in life that one needs. Wonderful memories and some very interesting and wonderful people. Some of those we meet again in life, some we don't. I hope I see Yusri again sometime. And also my thanks to Ahmed Hashim, who was one of the diving instructors there, and we've kept in touch since and are sharing the films and events of our lives. So bye for now and have fun, but above all keep that sense of humour.